Hello everyone, and welcome back, or welcome to be introduced to Reserved Investments on YouTube. This is my YouTube channel. That said, if you are watching this video, I want to thank you completely from the bottom of my heart. Those of you that may not know me, I do write for Antiques and Auction News. My column appears every 2 weeks. I have been involved, just basic bio information here, I have been involved in the antiques and collectibles trade one way or another since the age of 12. Today I am a sophisticated investor who operates in the trade, and I have a lot of knowledge that I want to share. I am not a fan of social media, not a fan of Facebook, Twitter. I do have a Facebook account. Why, I have no idea. That said though, I created this channel to kind of break through the hype. And one of the things that I didn't do when I started this channel is I did nothing to promote it. I have friends, family members, people I'm very close with that have no idea that this channel exists. So what I did was, when I created this channel, before we begin, I'm just going to give you this brief statement. I wanted to see what the YouTube algorithm would actually do with somebody who comes into the antiques and collectibles space and starts just a channel without any hype. Okay, yes, I do show some items from my personal collection or whatever I've accumulated from time to time. That said though, I didn't do any type of advertising. There's nothing in my articles that I write that would point you to this channel. So if you found it and you're watching it, even if you disagree with me, you may go, you know, that Sean guy, he's an annoying SOB, okay? I'm gonna troll him. That's fine, just do so in the comments. If it's a respectable troll, I'll gladly respond. If it's not respectable, I probably won't respond or comment back, but you at least can have your fun, okay? I'm just kidding on that, all right? But regardless, I did want to do a video on the vintage comic book marketplace and where it is right now, how it got to be at this point, and my thoughts on whether you should collect, invest, or speculate in a lot of these items, okay? Full disclosure before we begin, okay? And I said this from the start when I started this channel. I want to have transparency and also operate in an unbiased manner so that I can give you my thoughts without any emotional attachment or any type of feelings involved. Like, if there's something that I really like or am attached to, I will let you know, but I will also tell you my thoughts on it without that attachment taking control of my response and my commentary on the items in question. Okay, I think that's very important, and that's something lacking in the speculative era that we're in of modern mass-produced collectibles. Okay, and that's why I think my channel gives a unique perspective in that regard. I'm not here trying to tell you guys to run out and spend, you know, $2 grand on a coin that you may not like, or a comic book, or, you know, a Lego set, or, you know, an amiibo or a video game system. Okay, I want you to have the facts, and then if you are emotionally attached to the item, that's fine, you can buy it, but just to understand where we're at in the current marketplace dynamic or cycle, and at what point, if you want to maximize your profit, or if you want to sell out of that item without taking too much of a loss, that you may have to sell that item within the next 5 years, or 10, or 20, or what have you, okay? That's my whole point in making these videos. So, we have to go back, sort of. I don't want to go back to the full history of comic books, the full history of what transpired in the 1980s with the release of the 1989 Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson Batman movie. I will do a video on that coming up because that ushered in what I want to call a comic book speculative bubble boom at that time. And it's very important to talk about, but we're not going to get to it in this video, okay? What I do want to focus on is how we got to the state where comic books, and I apologize, I should have picked, I guess, a better key issue to introduce this particular video. This is just The Legend of Zelda #1 from Valiant Comics, published in 1990. I picked this because it ties into my theme of video games and other pop culture related collectibles. So this is probably worth $200 or less on the secondary market. I honestly haven't looked up the price of this in years. Full disclosure before we begin, I did, in the year 2002, I did build a very valuable collection of 60 key issues graded by CGC in 9.2, near mint minus or better condition, from the 1963 to 1975 coveted comic book era, which covers some of the Silver Age and most of the Bronze Age at that particular time. Okay, Of those 60 books, I paid $31,000 and some change for the collection over a period of, I want to say, 10 years. I collected from 2002 to 2012. In the year 2015, I sold 30 of those books. So I sold half the collection through Heritage Auctions, and I netted over $80,000 for those 30 books. I bring that up for two reasons. Number one, I always wanted to be transparent in what content I produce on YouTube. And number two, for those of you that will say, I don't know what I'm talking about because you don't like the advice I'm giving in this video, I can tell you firsthand, I did it, okay? I made money in the market, substantial amounts. That said, I still do not think, and I'm getting a little bit head here, that the average person should be placing large amounts of money in the graded vintage comic book market at this time. And the reason for that is twofold. Most collecting hobbies that hit mainstream have some sort of a catalyst. If you want to talk coins, which, as you know, if you watch my other videos, I'm passionate about coins and currency. What made coins pop to the point where right now certain coins are selling for $3 million, $4 million, or even if you wanted to get into the graded coin marketplace, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to spend $1,000 to $2,000 a coin to create any type of collection that's going to have value long term. That's where we're at in that market, okay? The great catalyst to what made coins what they are today was third-party grading that came out in the 80s, okay? On top of that, Wall Street took an interest in certified graded coins. That caused the market to pop, okay? If you would have bought coins, I'm talking investment-grade coins, like I'm recommending today, for $1,000 to $2,000 a piece in the 1980s, you would have paid a significant premium over what they're worth today. The same thing is happening in the vintage comic book marketplace, okay? Here's the two developments that caused the massive speculative bubble that we're in for all these wonderful key issues. Like in my collection, I'll give you an example. I remember I had Tales of Suspense 52, CGC 9.2. For those of you unaware, that's the first appearance of Black Widow, who premiered in the Avengers, okay? I paid $1,700 for that comic book. I think I got it 2008, I want to say, right around there. I sold it, Heritage, the final bid on that book was close to $5,000. My House of Secrets 92, which was the first appearance of Swamp Thing, was in CGC 9.4. I paid $1,600 for that book. Back in 2015, I got close to $3,300 for it through Heritage Auctions, okay? The point I'm trying to make with this is the first catalyst that hit the vintage graded marketplace was the advent of CGC. CGC is a Sarasota-based company, Sarasota, Florida that is, based company that came out onto the marketplace around, I want to say, was it the year 2000, I believe? They are owned and operated by the Certified Collectibles Group, which also owns NGC, coin grading, and PMG, currency grading. If you saw my one video, I did show one of my uncommon pieces of currency that I have. That's graded by PMG. If you can hunt down that video, I think it's in the video about is it really rare. That said, that piece of currency is graded by PMG. That same company is affiliated with CGC, who grades comic books. Okay? That said, that was the first catalyst that created a massive interest for more invested-minded collectors in the vintage comic book marketplace, okay? The second catalyst, and this is what people don't understand, in less than 20 years, really in less than 10 years, because CGC came out in the year 2000, the first Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, which was Iron Man, in my opinion, I consider that the best, that really established the franchise, came out in 2008. So in a 10-year time span, you had CGC grading coming on the scene, which allowed collectors and more investment-minded speculators to buy something that they may not be sure of, but they could at least be sure that the book that they were buying, or the comic book in this case, had no restoration, and it was at least of the grade and quality signified on the CGC label, because CGC obviously had a lot of credibility. That said, what people always forget is the effect the Marvel Cinematic Universe had on these items as well. So not only was there one catalyst for growth in this particular market, there was two in less than a 10-year span. And it is still going strong right now. Now I will say, and I can do this in another video, there's a lot of books that did fall in value, okay? Even if they were CGC graded, it didn't matter. There are some books that fell in value that speculators were going after pretty fierce. You know, I'll tell you a funny story. Back when eBay was established, I want to say in around 2000, 2001, there was still a mass speculative boom happening in certain collectible categories thanks to the launch of eBay. Well, there was a company, I don't know if it was Showcase New England, that used to sell late Bronze Age CGC graded comic books, and they were all like first issues, and they were all in 9.8 condition. One of the books in that collection was Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel came out in 1977, okay, the first issue. Okay, it wasn't her first appearance, but the first issue, okay? I think I ended up winning a bid for it for like $100, and I just thought, you know, it'd be neat to have something from 1977. There's a gazillion of them out there, all right? So I literally threw it into a closet and forgot about the book. Well, in 2017, the book started gaining in popularity. I ended up selling that comic book that I paid $100 for $2,000, and I sold it right on eBay. Okay, so in that time span, I think it was a 15-year span, I made like an $1,800 profit in just one book. Okay, and then somebody comes to me and goes, "Well, what if it goes up even higher?" Dude, I made $1,800 on it. What do I care if it goes up any higher than that? By all means, let the person have their profit if it goes up. Ironically, if you look at the market for Miss Marvel 1, that was almost at the peak of the market. The book started dropping in value, which is why this is an important video. So, to review what I just said, the first thing that you have to have in your mind is, okay, in a 10-year time span, there were two catalysts of growth for the vintage graded comic book marketplace. The first was CGC. The second one was the excellent handling. Like, I love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. It's probably one of my favorite Avengers. I can relate to him. And I think so can a lot of other people. That's what made that movie successful. And the handling of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was the second catalyst. Okay? So, let me ask you this, to all you guys that are looking at the comic book market, and you think these books are going to keep going up, and you paying a premium for them in 2017, 2018, even today, 2019, which is when this video is being filmed, this is what I want to know. There were two catalysts that happened in the vintage comic book marketplace that caused prices to rise exponentially like this. What else do you guys think is going to happen in the market where prices are going to rise even further? You guys are operating under the assumption of the greater fool theory. I'm trying to say that. Sorry, it's a tongue twister. Greater fool theory. It's an economic term. It means that you're buying a commodity because you feel that there's a person out there who is going to pay more for that particular commodity, either now in today's terms and time, or in the near or distant future. Okay? That is stupid. All right? I'm going to tell you, some people will make money by buying in today's marketplace, in the vintage graded comic book marketplace, and holding for a certain amount of time. It's not going away, but it is going to be transformed. Younger collectors are not going to come into comic books like Generation Xers like myself, or millennials seem to have somewhat of an attachment to comic books. Not as much as Gen Xers, but it's still there. It's just not as pronounced. That should cause you guys to have some concern before you put a significant amount of money in this particular market. So what I want to establish in this particular video, and I'm going to do more on this topic, I do not think that anybody who either A, does not have a passion for these particular items, meaning comic books, or B, does not have an understanding of the market, should be speculating or investing in this subset of the greater antiques and collectibles trade. Okay? Reason being is I see a lot of speculative comments on a lot of the collecting forums. Like, I used to be active on the CGC collecting forum. Okay? I am still a little bit active on the coin collecting side of that particular forum, but I gave up posting on the comic collecting side because it was too populated by speculators and unsophisticated investors. Okay? Let me just state this as a point to prove where I'm going with this. When I was on the forum, somebody said to me, you know, hey, look at how much Action Comics 1 appreciated in the time span since it was printed to now. Okay? That was the first appearance of Superman that was published in 1938 by DC Comics. Okay? Very valuable comic book, no disputing that. The problem is they then said, well, my X-Men 94 should be worth just as much in that same time span. I don't mean to be rude to anybody who thinks in that manner, but that's a very uneducated statement to make. The reason why comic books like Action Comics 1 and Detective Comics 27, first appearance of Batman, are selling for millions of dollars is because they're scarce. Back in 1938, nobody saved this stuff. It was rolled up, crinkled, put in somebody's pocket, and it was thrown out. Then when World War II hit, it was recycled as part of the paper drives. That's why there's so few comic books out there from like 1938 all the way up. I mean, you can go up to like 1960, and a lot of people did not save this stuff, okay? One thing that I am mesmerized about is if you look how many copies of Amazing Spider-Man 1 are out there, even Amazing Fantasy 15, a lot of people did save them. They're not all in high grade, but there is a substantial amount of copies out there on the market, graded. And I think that's good for the hobby as a whole, okay? I do think, however, I'm going to say it, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and Amazing Fantasy 15 are overvalued in today's dollars. I have said that many times in my articles, and I even hinted to that in other videos that I've done. That said, if you're going to collect comic books, another thing you have to understand. In 1970, the first issue of the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide was published, guys. You know what that means? By 1970, people were collecting this stuff. So for those of you that have limited means, you're going to come to me and you're going to go, Sean, I'm going to go after graded comic books in the 1980s and 90s. And I'm going to say to you, well, that's great if you have a passion for it. Here's the problem. Do you have any idea how many of those comic books were saved in near mint or better? Don't get me wrong, there are some fabulous keys from that era. There's Amazing Spider-Man 300, there's New Mutants 98, which brought forth Deadpool. There's a lot of great books, okay? But most of them were hoarded in mass, and their prices have increased substantially because of the speculative bubble in that market. So I hate to say this, if you're gonna collect CGC graded comic books, you gotta bite the bullet, and you have to go after pre-1965 keys, and I would say, honestly, very fine, near mint or better if possible. And you better hope that the market doesn't change where collectors start to lose interest in these items. And in an upcoming video, I'm going to show you there were times in the 1990s where mega keys, like even Action Comics 1, Detective Comics 27, Amazing Spider-Man 1, Amazing Spider-Man 15, declined substantially in value, okay? What caused the market to come back was CGC, along with Marvel, and to a less extent DC, their handling of their movie properties. That brought new people into the fold, and people said, wow, I just saw Iron Man on the big screen. I would like to get something that helps me stay kind of related to that particular pop culture item. And some of these people did have the money to buy like an Iron Man 1 from 1968 or an Iron Man and Submariner if they weren't buying Tales of Suspense 39. Okay? That's not to say that the average person who goes and sees a Marvel or DC comic book movie is spending massive amounts of money on comic books. I know a lot of people that hate the comic books but love the movies. I know a lot of people that love the comic books and actually hate the movies, okay? And honestly, if you're talking DC, like this is off topic, but I'm really pissed off over how they're handling the Joker movie that's coming out. I mean, they changed his complete origin and everything. It's just, it doesn't sit right with me, okay? That said, guys, be very careful in this particular marketplace, okay? If you want to enter the vintage comic book marketplace, I'm going to reiterate this point a third time. There were two catalysts that got to where we are here. That happened in a 10-year time span. Number one was the advent of CGC grading. The other one was the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you are paying a super premium for these items, okay? Especially if it's a key or semi-key superhero book. So this is what I leave you with. Knowing those two things in the back of your mind. How much further in value can these things go? There's not going to be a third catalyst. What can be, after these two developments, a third catalyst that causes the vintage comic book marketplace to go even higher over the next 10 to 20 years? I'm going to leave you with that. Seriously, think about that. That's how you analyze collecting markets from a financial standpoint. You look what caused the growth. Just like in vintage video games. I do a lot of topics on vintage video games. The creation of Wada Games changed the market, okay? Prices, if you look through price charting or even eBay auctions, they started to decline. When Wada Games started announcing they're going to grade games and Heritage Auctions is going to conveniently offer those items up for bid, the market tried to turn around. And now prices are jumping for items like complete in box, mint games, or factory seal games, okay? Because that's what collectors are going after, all right? Be very careful when a catalyst or a dynamic game changer affects your favorite collecting category, because it could be catastrophic if you buy into it at the wrong time, okay? You're buying it because you love it, you make 120 grand a year, your house is paid, everything's kosher, by all means, man, go for it, okay? But just understand, you have to have an exit strategy, hint, hint, another upcoming video, on a lot of this stuff, okay? It is not going to go up in value forever, unless if you're buying items that have true historic significance. I'm sorry, the first appearance of Spider-Man, Batman, and Superman are not going to have historic significance in several hundred years from now, okay? So those of you that want to buy something like that and pass it down, and the other generation's going to pass it down, eventually there's going to come a point where the other person gets this and goes, what the hell am I doing with this? What is it? It's going to happen, okay? There is a time and a place for everything. This too shall pass. Thank you for watching. I value your feedback. There will be more videos on this topic. And again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for finding this channel and spending the 20-some minutes that this video took for me to go through this with you, even if you disagree. Enjoy your day.